Hey guys, Uncle Ray. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Bellwether and happy 4th of July. Now, I can't be more bullish, and I still believe that people can make life-changing gains in the remainder of this cycle. That being said, over 90% of everyone investing in crypto lose money, and I believe it's because of misinformation or just the lack of information, because in this cycle, a lot of things have changed. And the big boys are here. The legacy banks, Wall Street, the governments, everyone has stepped into this brand new asset class. And if you don't understand what the power players on Wall Street and around the world are up to, you're going to hodl and hold some of these tokens and probably miss this entire altcoin season. That being said, a lot of people believe we might not even have an altcoin season. Well, for me, my strategy is going to protect me either way. Hopefully, I'm going to keep being successful even if we don't have altcoin season, and altcoin season will be an immense uh, bonus. It really will. So, guys, I don't know your game plan, but you might want to hear me out in this video, and you might want to change your portfolio or your thought process. Don't be in that 90%. And if you need some help with that, we can talk about that at the end of this video. Now, one thing that I've said from my very first video over 3 years ago is that retail, me and you, our thoughts, how we move and navigate in our favorite projects don't matter. It doesn't matter what we use. It really doesn't. The U.S. government, or all governments, the legacy banks, and Wall Street pick winners and losers. You have to follow the smart money. And the smart money is here. And they are moving hard and fast to take over and dominate crypto. And if you've done any non-biased research on what the big players are doing, you'll understand they're well on their way to dominating crypto. And I have no doubt that 99.9% of all altcoins are going to disappear. And even if they stick around, most of them will not have much of a value, even if they're being used a lot. So hit the like button. Heck, if I trigger you, hit the unlike button. But guys, if you've never listened to a video that I've created till the end, this is one you need to watch, especially if you're thinking about hodling and holding these projects for long term. You're probably going to wreck yourself, but hey, just hear me out, make that decision. It's your money. I just want you to be successful, and you have to have good information. All right, right out of the gate, guys, look how down the market is today. And if you go back for the last, month and a half, when we were experiencing these red days every single day, and everyone was crying, a lot of people were buying and have already taken profits. How many times have you got caught in the FOMO? Well, it's just going to keep happening. So we're going to zoom out, talk about where we're at now with altcoin season, and I'm going to talk to you about what the changes are. Because guys, you can follow whoever you want, but for me, I follow people with financial backgrounds on Wall Street. I know a lot of people hate that, but guys, you need to understand what the big boys are up to, what their game plan is, because there's not a sector in the world, much less the financial sector, that anyone, and I mean anyone, is going to come into, and take over who rules the world, right? JP Morgan is not going to shrink because of this technology. It is exploding and dominating more because of this technology. And that's the type of stuff we're going to talk about. And we're also going to talk about some opportunities maybe on buying stocks because there's a new trend. So hear me out, guys. Did I say hit that like button? All right. no matter what, and a lot of people see this as good news or bad news, but look at this, guys. This is the social metrics for retail. It is at historical lows. It can't really get any lower. Well, if that doesn't tell you it's time to buy, if you believe we're going to have altcoin season and retail's coming back, guys, this is your chance to maybe start dollar cost averaging in. No matter what, they probably can only go up from here. That doesn't mean they can't go down, but based on this, there should be an upside if someone started dollar cost averaging in right now. But before you do that, hear me out on the rest. All right. Whether you like Bitcoin or not, you should be pulling for Bitcoin because it is the GOAT. And if Bitcoin explodes, it's going to pull up the altcoins. And if Bitcoin can't maintain, its GOAT status, altcoins are probably going to get wrecked a lot sooner than you think. Now, this is Bitcoin dominance. I don't see it going down whatsoever. We may have some small pullbacks like we just had, but to have an altcoin season, you want it to fall off a cliff. Like, let's go back to, yeah, that's 2018. That's 2021. And look, we haven't really had an altcoin season if you compare it to the last cycles. Bitcoin dominance needs to break down to get that explosive moves. But look, the good news is we've had pretty good moves if you were smart enough to take some profits just in like the first of the year right after the election and the year before that. So there is money to be made, and I know a ton of people that have already made life-changing gains. But they maintained their dry powder, they kept buying the dips, and just like right now, and they kept taking profits, and they're repeating the process. They're not just sticking around and going down 50, 80% and hoping we get an altcoin season and get their money back. That's a bad strategy in my opinion. All right, here, this proves the point, guys. Look at this. This is the total, total three, which is basically all the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So your altcoin is in this. They just keep bleeding. This is against Bitcoin. They just keep bleeding. Now, this could be a good place to dollar cost average in. I'm not telling anyone to do that. I only buy on red days. I don't chase these pumps. And we could pump tomorrow, next week, or whatever, or we could keep going down. I hope we get into this channel. And with Bitcoin dominance going up, and what I'm about to share with you, I don't see the smart money diving into altcoins anytime soon, unless that is pure manipulation, like we just had. Every time you start getting that FOMO in, right, like right here, and everyone tells you we're in altcoin season, the smart money just dumps, takes their profit, and moves on. Meanwhile, everyone gets wrecked. You don't want to be exit liquidity. You want your piece of the pie, in my opinion. All right, let's get down to some stuff that Wall Street, the big money, are talking about right now. And you may want to participate. Now this is micro strategy. Think about it, guys. You could have bought it way under $10 before Michael Saylor started doing his Bitcoin strategy. Now think about it. You're buying a stock on Wall Street, a NASDAQ 100 company that has went from $10 to way over 500, like 550. Wall Street loves that. Lower risk, and it got a lot of people's attention. And now over 200 companies around the world is doing somewhat the same type of strategy. And now they're expanding it into other tokens as a reserve asset, which I personally think they're probably going to get wrecked. The only reserve asset, in my opinion, is Bitcoin. Because so far, we've never had a non-bear market, right? And we've never had an altcoin not drop over 90%. It's never happened. So what do you think is going to happen when Wall Street stacks XRP and Solana and Ethereum or whatever else they decide to put on their books and it drops 50, 80, 90%? They're going to pull the plug, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean I'm still not bullish for the remainder of this bull run, but when it's all over, guys, it's going to be ugly. I highly recommend you learn the short. That's where the money's going to be made, in my opinion. All right. But because of MicroStrategy, and we had the Bitcoin miners do well and Coinbase do well on Wall Street before. So Wall Street is paying attention. And now that it's getting legal, they're starting to look at these companies. Now, Circle just went from $31 to over $300. Guys, that is massive. Now, the $31 was the pre-IPO, but that's where the IPO guys bought. But Circle got a lot of attention. So the reason I'm pointing this out is that Wall Street's like, why would I go into an immensely risky altcoin when I can get a 10x, 50x right here on Wall Street? Now, if that doesn't blow you away, most people have never heard of this Wall Street company. It's BMNR. Look at this, guys. This is a 3,000% move in a matter of weeks. Why? Not even because of Bitcoin, because they are putting Ethereum on their books. Now, I might try to figure out how to short this stock, but when Wall Street sees this stuff and you have over 200 companies starting to put Bitcoin and other assets on their books as a reserve, they're going to turn it into just one big game of making money, just like the ICOs, in my opinion. But either way, it's pulling money from altcoins. Now, here's something else. A lot of people think that companies like or foundations and companies like Ripple and the Algorand Foundation and HBAR and Quant and all those are going to take over the world. Well, the story sounds sexy and believable until you zoom out and you say, well, what does Wall Street think about that? What does the legacy banks think about that? Because I think we can all agree, even if I just triggered you, I think we can all agree that the world has people that dominate every asset class and every sector. The JP Morgans, the BlackRocks, the IBMs, Visa, MasterCard, those are the power players. Well, when you zoom out and say, well, what are they up to? It's laughable that someone thinks that these small little new crypto foundations and companies can even get more than their share. Because when you zoom out, and I'm going to prove it to you, there's hundreds, if not thousands of companies on Wall Street that's moving into crypto with their own blockchains, their own stable coins, their own strategies. Now check this out. And this proves my point, guys. And this is hugely important for you guys that are going to hodl. You're going to get wrecked, in my opinion. Now, we all know Robinhood, and it is a new up and coming company. It's a powerhouse, and it's going to do well. The stock is going to do well, right? But look at that. They just launched their own blockchain on Arbitrium. So people are like, wow, that's amazing. That is immensely bullish. And they're going to get into DeFi, tokenizing stocks and everything. They literally plan on changing the game. But just like Coinbase created Base with no token, and they made pretty much OP obsolete, they're beating them with their own tech. Robinhood plans on creating their own blockchain with no token to be used. So what they're going to do is pioneer, get all their customers, get everything worked out, and then just flip it to their own blockchain. And that's how 99% of these projects are going to disappear, because they're going to have all the customers. And as we know, no one really cares about which one we use as long as the fees and it's simple and it's safe. If you don't believe me, check this out. Robinhood plans to launch military grade chain optimized for real world assets. Guys, you got to start researching what the big players are doing on Wall Street. Coinbase just acquired LiquidFi, leading token management platform. It's just more ways for Coinbase to dominate, no token needed. Now, I can't be more bullish on Aerodrome, because that is kind of the best token, I believe, that will do well as Coinbase starts to dominate. Let me show you, bring another one to your attention. And stay with me, guys. This is immensely important, because you're getting a lot of misinformation, and you need to compare what the big boys are doing. Now, Quant. Quant used to be one of my biggest bags. I couldn't be more bullish, but then I realized what's holding it back. It has phenomenal tokenomics, has great tech. Well, the problem is Wall Street can do everything that Quant can do. It's just code and software. Well, there's a company called Codant that has like 82% market share against Quant. No token needed. And when you go to their website, guys, because most people have never heard of them, they are a powerhouse. Look at this. Codant announces strategic investments by PayPal Ventures and American Express. You don't hear that about Quant, because Quant is not even a dominant player on Wall Street in its sector of what it does. Doesn't mean the tech isn't great, but no one needs to buy Quant to do what it does when it can work with the customers and the clients and the companies on Wall Street to get it done. And they don't have to worry about volatility, buying tokens, or anything. That's the future. So in my opinion, as great as Quant is, it may stick around, but there's no life-changing gains, and you'll be lucky if it ever makes a new all-time high. Hey, reality, guys. All right, check this out. Most people have never heard of Providence blockchain, don't even know who they are, what they do. Well, it's a group of 70 American banks and fintech companies who launched their own blockchain like 7 years ago. And they dominate the American payment sector and real world assets and everything else. They stuck together, guys. They're all using the same tech. They're helping each other. They've had this plan for a long time. And then you'll hear people say stuff like, oh, well, Ripple's going to take over the American banking system. It's laughable. Guys, they are so far down the road, it's not even funny. There's nothing to take over. They have instant settlement. They have everything, and they're moving forward. Do some research, guys. All right. If that wasn't enough, and guys, I could talk about how dominant Wall Street is going to be in the banks for hours. I can literally do videos where I talk about the future of crypto, and I never mention one of your favorite tokens, because they're probably at best only going to get their share. Now, that doesn't mean they can't pump, but it does mean they will not dominate no matter what lies and misinformation you get. If you don't believe me, do some research, compare, get back with me. If you prove me wrong, I'll be glad to make a video. But when you want to talk about dominating the flow of money and payments, it's JP Morgan, guys. They own like 33% of the Fed. They move more money in a day than projects like Algorand, XRP, and HBAR have in a lifetime. And they've got all kinds of stuff. I could go on for hours talk about what they are doing. HSBC, The same thing. They got their own private ledger. Bank of America. The Canton network, guys, is working directly with R3/4. They're not using XDC. They're using the Canton network blockchain, which is by far one of the most real world asset dominant players. Everyone's using them. Bank of America, BlackRock, uh, R3/4, all of them. But there's no token to buy. Token is just to make people rich and kickstart these projects. Wall Street doesn't need that, and they don't need the extra money to grow. They have the money, and they don't have to worry about regulation or anything if they don't have a token. But they can still use the tech to make money. That's what it's all about, guys. Don't kid yourself. The speculation part is going to go away, and it's going to move in to tokenize assets like what Robinhood's talking about. When it tokenizes Starlink. Think about that, guys. We can now buy basically the equivalent of Starlink that goes tit for tat of a private company through Robinhood. That's another reason people are going to stop buying altcoins, including me. What would you rather have? A tokenized asset, right? I think it's going to be confusing to people in the future when you talk about which token are you buying. Most people are going to be talking about the Starlink token, right? Not XLM or HBAR. The odds are. Now, but look at this. You got Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs. All of these guys have their own blockchains, their own projects, their own instant settlement and everything, their own custody game plans. Not all of them, but they all have bits and pieces as they need it. They're building it, they're using it. And yes, they are going to partner with some of these blockchains for small usage or for um, public blockchains. The public blockchains may get their share, but they're not going to be the dominant player. And therefore, because of the bad tokenomics of 99% of altcoins, they're never going to be a good value, even if they stick around. Example, Algorand, XLM, XRP, their tokens supply is so great, the demand is never going to catch up. Now, a lot of people will debate that, but hey, they're debating with your money. I disagree 100%, but do some non biased research and you'll realize the risk, and they're not the dominant player. They don't even have the scalability. They haven't proved it. They are falling behind Wall Street's tech. The tech is changing. Look at the new projects, SUI and Hype and Aerodrome. They're outperforming all the Dino tokens. Half of them are outperforming them combined. Guys, if you want to make the most money, you want to buy new projects that's never experienced a bull run in the hot sectors. Now, that being said, I'll run through this and then we'll talk about how I might be able to help you with your portfolio or whatever. Guys, there's a new sector that I believe might be important to add, but I don't think you need 15, 20 tokens. You just need a new project in the hot sectors, which is AI, an AI agent, a gaming token, something in RWAs, something on the base ecosystem, and gaming and DeFi. DeFi is the new one that we need to talk about because I believe we could have like a DeFi summer. I really do. Anyway, guys, that being said, if you need some help with your portfolio, I do one on one coaching. I have 3 Zoom calls. I have a portfolio of 18 videos that walk you through everything you need. And then we go through it with a Zoom call. I also have a shorting video or a shorting course, which I think is the best way to make money in crypto. And I believe it's one of the best shorting courses I've ever seen. And then I have my new inner circle. That being said, whether you take me up on that or not, do yourself a favor, guys. Take profits or become the profits. All right, guys, that's all I got. Let me know what you think. Reach out. hit the like button, comment down below, and either way, come back and be part of this community. Happy 4th of July, guys.